The CDC says millions of Americans skip or ration their medication because of the high cost of prescription drugs. Last year's Inflation Reduction Act limited drug costs for people who are on Medicare. For example, insulin costs now capped at $35 a month, and the act will phase in other price limits in the coming years. But a KFF Health News poll found that 44% of people 65 and older are not aware that the price of insulin is now capped, and about a third don't know about the new limits on out-of-pocket costs. Dr. Celine Gounder is editor-at-large for public health at KFF and a CBS News medical contributor. Dr. Gounder, thank you very much for being here. More than 65 million Americans insured through Medicare. In addition to insulin, which of the costs here are capped under the new law?
For this year, the other major category is vaccines. So, for example, shingles vaccine could cost you a couple $100s out of pocket to pay for. Shingles is extremely painful if you get it. But a lot of seniors don't get the vaccine because of the cost. So that's one major area. We have some additional price controls for medications coming down the line.
Do you automatically get the price capped amount, or do you have to ask for it? Is it like a special code word, or you just show up and they give it to you?
What's the magic word?
There is no magic word. This is something that's being implemented by the federal government. So it's really being taken care of upstream.
Okay.
It's just what you pay at the end of the day is going to reflect some of these price controls.
So what about the people that are not covered by Medicare? That's a pretty big group.
That is an important question. So these price controls that you're going to see on medications, so those will start in 2024. Their out-of-pocket costs will be controlled to about $3,300 a year. For brand drugs, starting 2025, it'll be $2,000 a year for brand and generics, total out-of-pocket that you would be paying out of your own money. But that's only for people on Medicare. So for other people, there are other options. Mark Cuban, for example, with Cost Plus, that's one model that's being used where they're cutting out the middleman to bring down the cost of generics that way.
That sounded very exciting when he was talking about it, when he introduced it.
Why has it taken so long to get this kind of price control?
Great question. As you can imagine, there are some people, pharmaceutical companies in particular, that are not too excited about being told by the federal government how they can price their medications. And we have seen a number of lawsuits filed by the pharmaceutical companies and the Chamber of Commerce since the law was passed.
So
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, what they claim in these lawsuits is that the market should decide the cost, and we need that money to innovate and come up with new magical formulas. Do they have a point?
This is always the response when we talk about controlling drug prices. Is this going to impact innovation? And there's something called the Congressional Budget Office, which is not partisan. It's not Democratic or Republican. They provide estimates to Congress on what something will cost or what the impact will be. And according to the Congressional Budget Office, they think that the impact on new drugs coming to market is going to be pretty minimal, that only a handful of drugs over the next 30 years may not come to market as a result.
As a doctor, do you find the process confusing? It just seems so random to me how they decide this costs this costs this. You shop around and get all sorts of different prices. Is it confusing to you?
It is really confusing. And we have a really hard time, because of their such lack of transparency in how things are priced, appropriately counseling our own patients.
Jeez.
I don't know if I'm comforted by that.
Yeah.
I don't think I am. Thank you, Celine. Always good to have you at our table, always.